Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestle News 365 here. I hope everyone is staying safe, staying well, and staying indoors and staying at home. So today we're going to talk a little bit about a story that is a breaking story, I would say. We're probably going to hear a lot more about this in the coming days and coming weeks, and that is about supposed heat on the former Universal Champion Bill Goldberg. And this stems from some recent behind the scenes happening in WWE. Now, this report comes from WrestleZone, who are well known as reporting in professional wrestling. They've broken a lot of stories in the past. I must say, going into this, we haven't had this confirmed yet by other sources. This is just from WrestleZone, so let's take it with a pinch of salt. But I'm pretty sure this is a credible source. There is at least some truth to this story about Bill Goldberg's heat in the WWE at the moment. Now, let's backtrack a little bit. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, was booked as this unstoppable heel monster ever since he repackaged himself after WrestleMania of 2019, so about a year ago at this point. Ever since he re-debuted, he was destroying everyone, destroying legends, destroying superstars. He had a feud with Seth Rollins, of course, destroyed him, won the Universal Championship. Prior to that, he had the feud with Finn Balor, dominated him, destroyed him, had the feud with Daniel Bryan, the same thing happened there, destroyed him, dominated him. And a lot of people thought, this is compelling TV. Everyone praised him. It was very critically acclaimed. And then he had the feud with Bill Goldberg going into Super Showdown. Now, at the time, everyone assumed that this was going to be a similar fate to the other previous feuds that Bray Wyatt had, where he would dominate them, have a quick match, or have a reasonably quick match, and retain his Universal Championship. Of course, the draw was the legend Bill Goldberg, who is well known for destroying people in 3 minutes. But at the time, people thought there is no way the 53-year-old Bill Goldberg, regardless of who he's defeated in the past and the fabled undefeated streak he had in WCW in 1997, 1998, whatever, there was no way that Bill Goldberg was going to win. So imagine the surprise when Bill Goldberg defeated The Fiend in 3 minutes to win the Universal Championship at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia in February. If you wasn't a wrestling fan at the time or whatever, just to refresh your mind, social media and the internet essentially exploded because they were incredulous that Bill Goldberg had defeated arguably the hottest thing going in WWE at the time, and arguably the hottest thing in WWE in recent memory, in the last couple of years for sure. People were baffled. People were trying to find explanations where there wasn't any logic. You've built up this character, this monster, this unstoppable heel, and you've destroyed him in 3 minutes and getting in limited offense at best. Now, this write-up by WrestleZone essentially says that this wasn't always the plan. The plan was, as everyone expected, was for the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, to defeat Bill Goldberg and retain the Universal Championship. At the time, there were reports that Bray Wyatt was going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania to defend the Universal Championship. Now, that's obviously before the world went crazy, and we know that Bray Wyatt didn't face Roman Reigns in the end. They went in a different direction. Why? Well, Bill Goldberg might have had a factor in that. The write-up says that, like I said, Bray Wyatt was scheduled to win at Super Showdown, but Bill Goldberg pushed hard to defeat the Fiend Bray Wyatt and become the Universal Champion, leading to a last-minute change in WWE's booking plans. Bray Wyatt was originally going to go over, but Goldberg, out of a fear of, quote, damaging his image, Goldberg talked them into giving him creative control of the match and his character. He argued that the younger fans would want to see his, quote, superhero, end quote, character topple the monster, save the day, and come out on top. Obviously, I'm not a kid, so I can't say, oh, that's not what they want to see. It's not what I wanted to see, and look, are the kids really scared of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend? I don't know, but I don't agree with that point anyway. Anyway, Bray Wyatt was skeptical, by all accounts, of putting Goldberg over in this convincing fashion, because Goldberg, if he's going to have a match, it's going to be a 3-minute dominator match. We're not going to have a 30-minute classic here, are we? Back and forth, bumping around like crazy and near falls. But the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, acquiesced to put the WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg over, which by all accounts has enhanced his own respect levels in the locker room. Then, of course, this past weekend at WrestleMania, during night one, Goldberg would drop the Universal Championship to Braun Strowman, ironically, Bray Wyatt's former stablemate in the Wyatt family. And then this has been further reported on by WrestleZone that WrestleMania was indeed the last date on Goldberg's current WWE deal. And WrestleZone has hinted that it's safe to assume that WWE is not too keen to bring Goldberg back in a hurry due to this creative fiasco that we have seen at Super Showdown and leading into WrestleMania. Now, in terms of my opinion on this, I probably get a bit of heat myself for quoting Vince Russo here, but Vince Russo said the two most devastating words in professional wrestling were creative control, and I do happen to agree with him on that one. Now, people can lobby for what they want in pro wrestling, especially characters. No one knows their character better than themselves, and I totally agree with that. And whilst Goldberg, perhaps he thought it was the best thing for his character that he needed to win that match. Ultimately, WWE shouldn't have acquiesced to Goldberg's demands, in my opinion, because it was the wrong call. Now, Bray Wyatt coming out of WrestleMania is still very hot because of the Firefly Funhouse match and John Cena putting him over, but John Cena almost had to rescue Bray Wyatt's character there. I said at the time at Super Showdown, when Goldberg did defeat him, that it was irreversible damage, and I still do believe that. Because regardless of how many matches The Fiend goes on to win, he still lost to a 53-year-old man in 3 minutes after destroying everyone else. And people backstage were hot at the time. Seth Rollins tweeted, if only I'd had a jackhammer in my arsenal. And he's absolutely right. If you're Daniel Bryan, you're going to be annoyed. Daniel Bryan hit him with about 1 million running knees. Seth Rollins hit The Fiend with about 1 million stomps. And yet The Fiend kicked out at 1. Most of the time there. Seth Rollins smashed Bray Wyatt in the head with a steel chair on top of a ladder, on top of a toolbox or whatever, and The Fiend kicked out at 1. Yet a couple of spears and a jackhammer, and that's what it takes to get The Fiend down. It was just nonsensical and it was rubbish, quite frankly. Now, this idea that that Goldberg has, in that the kids wanted to see him win, maybe they did. I remember when I was younger, and that superhero babyface, they loved it. Okay, I loved it. But that was back then. This is 2020. Even the, youngest fans are smart to the business now. They know it's a work. And by all accounts, isn't Bray Wyatt / The Fiend's merchandise the highest selling merchandise in WWE? Look at the amount of Bray Wyatt, The Fiend masks, or Firefly Funhouse puppets you have in the crowd. And let's be honest, the Firefly Funhouse is a parody of a children's TV program. The kids, of course, are buying into that. They buy into the puppets. They buy into the family-friendly element of that part of Bray Wyatt's character. That's what makes him so universally, no pun intended, acclaimed to the audience. Because you have the Firefly Funhouse version of Bray Wyatt, which I'm assuming the kids will love, because it's aimed at children. And then you have The Fiend, which is arguably more aimed to the older segment of the audience, which they love as well. And I'm sure the kids love The Fiend as well, because who doesn't love out-of-this-world monster? I don't think it did The Undertaker any harm throughout his career, did it? Doubt it. You had kids that absolutely loved The Undertaker and still do. Why? Because it's a mythical, out-of-this-world character. So the idea that Goldberg needed to win because the kids needed to see him slay the villainous monster just isn't true. And I know Goldberg has spoken about it in the past, that his main reason for coming back to wrestling and main reason for coming back to WWE was because he wanted to be a superhero to kids. That's great. That is great. And I credit Bill Goldberg for that. I credit him when he does all of his Make-A-Wishes. I credit him when he shakes the kids' hands at ringside and gets them out of the crowd and all of that great stuff, because it's great. That gives him a memory that will last him a lifetime. And you can't fault Bill Goldberg for that. You have to credit him for that. That's great. And you have to credit him for being a hero to his son. I think that's great. I think that's great parenting, whatever. But we've heard these reports throughout Bill Goldberg's career. We heard him from the likes of Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, of course Bret Hart. Bret Hart can't stand the guy, among others, that Bill Goldberg takes himself too seriously. Triple H for the longest time had heat with Bill Goldberg over this, because he felt that Bill Goldberg took himself way too seriously and failed to acclimatize to the WWE environment because he took himself too seriously. People call him paranoid, people called him a bad worker, whatever. And I think, again, this is evidence of Bill Goldberg taking himself too seriously, taking his character too seriously. And the idea that WWE doesn't want to bring him back anytime soon. I don't blame them, because you can't work with someone like that. That's just bad for business. Creative control is bad for business. There should be one guy where the buck stops, and that is Vince McMahon. Now, regardless of if you agree or you disagree with Vince McMahon's decisions on creative finishes, outputs, whatever, you can't, at least the buck stops with him. It's one guy's decision, that's it. When a decision about a finish of a match or an outcome of the match is in the hands of the talent, it's never good, and it never goes down well. Like I said, you can lobby for your finish, you can lobby for the direction of your character, but ultimately the buck should stop at someone else, the owner, the promoter, whatever. And quite frankly, I'm stunned that WWE was willing to acquiesce to these demands. Let's be honest, when you book Bill Goldberg in a match anyway, especially at the age of 53 years old, you have to acclimatize to his limitations, his output in the ring. If you're going to book Bill Goldberg in a match, like I said, it's not going to be a 15-minute, 30-minute classic with near falls. You know it's going to be a maximum of 5 minutes. It's going to be a squash match. It's going to be spears, jackhammers. That's about it. Because the last time we saw Bill Goldberg try and do something different, it was against The Undertaker at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia in 2019. And how did that go? Yeah, not good. Not good. So if you're going to book Bill Goldberg in a match, it has to be spear, jackhammer, done. That's the most effective use of Goldberg at this age, or quite frankly, any time in his career. So if you're going to book Bill Goldberg, you have to acquiesce to those demands anyway. And you're not going to have Bill Goldberg working with some schlub. You're going to have him working with someone that's up the card. So if you're going to hire Goldberg, you're going to book Goldberg for a match, you're going to have to basically agree to squash one of your upper card talents. That's one sacrifice anyway. So for them to not only have him in matches against guys that he's going to defeat in 3 minutes, but to also pick and choose when he loses and who he's going to put over. Because let's not forget the other end of that report. The other end of that report is not only did he choose that he wasn't going to lose to Bray Wyatt, he chose that he was going to drop the belt to Braun Strowman. Because ultimately, if he didn't want to, he's got creative control, he can do what he wants. And I'm just stunned. I'm stunned. I understand now. Some people are going to say, look, Goldberg's a big draw. He's a big draw in the business. Look at the number that SmackDown did post Super Showdown. Now, people are going to say, oh, yeah, but that proves that Goldberg is a draw. And I disagree. People tuned in after Super Showdown for a couple of reasons. One, John Cena was making his return, arguably one of the biggest stars in WWE history. He's on the par with The Rock, Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan. Don't even at me, that's the truth. So people were tuning in for John Cena. People were also tuning in because they were like, I can't believe what they did at Super Showdown. It was that bad. How on earth are they going to fix this? Where are they going to go? I'm going to have to tune in. It's the car crash on the side of the road principle. You don't want to look, but you kind of have to. That's exactly what that was. So people to say, oh, look, Goldberg drew, that's just not the case. That's not the case. And his match at WrestleMania against Braun Strowman, I mean, if you're going to call it a match, some people have criticised the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse for not really being a match because they were cinematic productions. To be honest, they were more of a match than Goldberg versus Braun Strowman. I mean, that was... you could almost hear the boos outside the empty Performance Center. Can you imagine if that match happened at WrestleMania in front of a sold-out stadium? I mean, it would have got booed out of the building. It's just this whole Goldberg experiment now, for me, needs to end. Yes, he was a draw. And yes, that comeback story of 2016, 2017 was great, but they should have left it there. Because to acquiesce to a 53-year-old man's demands about who he's going to beat, who he's going to put over, who he's going to lose to, it's acceptable when it's in the mid-card and it's one-off matches. But when it's for the main bout, in a major program heading into your biggest show of the year, you just can't do that. It's bad for business. And that's my biggest takeaway of all of this, is that it's bad for business. Did WWE really need Bill Goldberg on that card that badly? Yes, I get it in Saudi Arabia, but I think Bill Goldberg almost had him over a barrel at this point. Because let's be honest, if I'm Vince McMahon and I hear those reports when we get to Saudi Arabia of, look, I'm not going to put over Bray Wyatt, I should win the match, I should come out Universal Champion, I'd say, okay, I'm going to get you on the next flight back home to Atlanta or wherever you're living nowadays, because that's unacceptable. You know, you do what the promoters booked you to do. You don't say, well, I don't want to do that, I'm pulling my creative control clause, whatever. No, not going to happen. But then like I said, Bill Goldberg had them over a barrel, because we know how important these Saudi Arabia shows are to the WWE and Vince McMahon, how much money they receive from the Saudi government for these shows. So you can't just say, oh, look, Bill Goldberg's not going to appear, because then you're going to get in some hot water with the Saudi government and that money might disappear and all of that stuff. You've promoted the card, and apparently those shows are more important to WWE than WrestleMania at this point. So Bill Goldberg knew he had him. He knew he had him. And let's be honest, Bill Goldberg, I'm sure, got a sweet payday for that match and the match at WrestleMania. I don't think he cares. He's said several times that he doesn't really care about the business. It is a business to him, and that's about it. The only thing he cares about that, and apparently being a superhero to kids. But it just, when I read that report, and like I said, I'm ranting here, of course, but we need to take it with a pinch of salt until we've had multiple people confirm it. I, for one, I'm going to lean on the side of caution, but I think they're stocking it. I really do. All of it might not be true, but there's certainly an element there, because it makes sense from the point of view of that finish. That whole match just lacked any logic in it, because not only did the finish of it lack logic, the duration of the match lack logic, but you have to remember as well, on the Friday Night SmackDown prior to Super Showdown, the Fiend just appeared in the ring. Goldberg speared him. That's how they went off the air. And a lot of people said, well, okay, they're booking Goldberg strong here. The Fiend's going to get the win back. It's not going to matter in the end of things. But no, when it came to Super Showdown, Goldberg speared him. Done. Jackhammer, if you can call it a jackhammer, wasn't even a vertical suplex. It was like a half throw. So, and spoiler, he didn't do that to Braun Strowman at WrestleMania because he can't anymore. Because he's a 53-year-old man. And I credit WWE for basically saying, look, we're not going to book you going forward. And I don't think Goldberg cares. Goldberg's got more money at this point from the last few years than I think he ever thought he would get in professional wrestling again. This has all been a bonus to him. So, like I said, I think it's another example of Bill Goldberg taking himself too seriously. I'm stunned that WWE really acquiesced to his demands, because they should never, ever, ever again give someone creative control of something like that. Because regardless of the Fiend getting his win back or not, and he did get his win back at WrestleMania over a bigger superstar in John Cena, it still has done damage to his character. And yes, he can recover from it, but that's still going to be there. You still lost in 3 minutes to a 53-year-old man in Goldberg. But like with the rest of the locker room, I credit Bray Wyatt for doing what he felt was the right thing, and he's earned respect in the locker room, and he's earned respect from me, and I just hope that is something that doesn't hang over Bray Wyatt for a while. Like I said, he's come out of WrestleMania with a victory. Let's hope he builds up some more momentum again, and most importantly, let's hope he gets the title back again. And I know some people will say, well, Bray Wyatt doesn't need the title, which he doesn't. He's an Undertaker, he doesn't need the title, but he doesn't deserve to lose it to a 53-year-old man that doesn't want to do business. That's just my opinion on things. But what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. Do you think this report is true? Do you think it's not true? Which parts of it do you think are true or not true? What are your thoughts on Goldberg? Do you think he will ever be booked for WWE again, or any other matches going forward? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you've come across this video today. I really, really appreciate it, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click at the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.